That's a pretty badass tour you guys were just on. It was the Return to Roots tour. You had Max and Igor Cavalera, and then Immolation and you guys. So how'd that go for you guys?
Dude, it was a dream come. We were already like on cloud 9 because Max and Igor wanted us to come on tour with them. Like even fucking knew who we were, you know?
Right.
But so it was already a dream come true. It was fine. I didn't care who else was on the tour. And then I remember getting the text from the booking agent guy saying direct is Immolation. And I was like, holy shit. So I called my band guys. They live like 5 hours away from me. They were like practice or something. And I was like, put it on speakerphone. Guess who the direct is? It's Immolation. And they all just started screaming. Because, I mean, like that would be a bucket list band. That was like a bucket list band to tour with for sure. And so it was like, as if it couldn't get any better. You know what I mean?
Right,
so,
man.
Yeah, it was fucking awesome. And everybody on the tour was so cool. It was really like, this is it. Like, this is who we look up to. And they're like even better than I could have imagined they would have been. That kind of deal, you know?
Oh, that's so awesome. And we were just talking about that Immolation album on our last episode, which is super kick-ass. So it's a cool time to be touring
rules,
with them, too.
Man. Dude, fuck yeah. Those guys are like real deal lifers. I always heard they were really nice guys, but like nothing I was told does it any justice. Those guys are, I don't know. Like seriously, I just hope that when I'm their age, I'm doing exactly as they're doing because their records are still insane. And they're just like super chill, humble, like hard-working dudes.
No, that's so cool. That's so cool to hear too. Because I remember seeing Max wearing some of your guys' shirts a while back. Did he get you guys on the bill?
It was Max and Igor. I would say a little of everybody, Gloria, because we met Max's son, little Igor, and his fiance Aggie like years ago at a show in Florida. Didn't know who they were. Just kind of became friends with them and realized and thought it was kind of crazy. So we started hanging out at their house when we would go to Arizona where they live. And we just kind of, Max was like super into, like Igor brought us home and was like, check this band out. And he was like, this shit's crazy. And it just kind of went from there. We met Igor in London, like Big Igor, and the whole family just kind of stayed in touch with us. And they kept saying like, we'll take you on tour. We were just like, it's very nice of you to say, well, you know, I don't care if it doesn't ever happen. Like that's a crazy thing. I can't imagine what ever happened.
Right. I hear you. So you okay? So I'm curious now. You guys, I know you were fans of Immolation and all this kind of stuff. What kind of came first for you guys? Was it more of like the hardcore stuff, death metal, or what got you guys into like extreme metal, or just you personally?
If you asked everybody in the band, they'd all give you different answers. I know that me and Spencer had kind of similar paths. When we were young kids, we liked a lot of punk rock. My parents were super into punk, so they gave me all my first punk CDs, which is always a cool thing to say. Like my mom used to go see Bad Brains and Ramones and all kinds of like sick shit. So I was really like, I was a punk. And then in early middle school and high school, the friends I made were into like metal and stuff. So I got a little into brutal death metal, like just the obvious subjects, like 6 Feet Under and goofy shit like that.
Right.
Kind of grew out of it. Didn't really have the attention span for it. And when I found grindcore, it was kind of like it was over for me for a few years. I was just really into grind. And like not just like good grind either, like some like white belt style like MySpace grind too, you know.
Okay.
But I don't know. I'd say we all started probably more on the punk side of things. But it's come full circle though, which I really like with the band. Like at this point we're really back into brutal death metal, but we're still listening to grind and all the weird noise stuff that we ended up liking. And
that's what
but yeah.
No, I was gonna say that's what I was thinking too. Because it's just your guys' evolution is crazy and awesome. You know, you guys just put out this new song in the last EP. It's like you can definitely hear a lot more of the death metal and just more of an evolution again. So with that new song you guys just put out, Deluminate, is that kind of the similar? Is it like an indication of what you get on the rest of the album, or what's it sounding like?
Well, I think that's like a good first track, I guess. It kind of like is giving me blue balls because it's I feel like the song is really cool and I'm really happy with it. I'm happy with all of it. It's cool, but I feel like there's like so much going on the record that's like just like barbaric, like unhinged, like knuckle dragging, like death grind shit, that like this song is literally just a drop. So I'm really psyched that all my friends are like, this is really good, but I want to show them the rest so bad.
Right.
'Cause I feel like there's definitely a lot more stuff going on. I mean, as there is with anything, it's 50 seconds of a record, anybody's record. I mean, it would be hard to judge from one track.
For sure.
But there's definitely, it's not all just like full bore. Like we definitely like dialed things in, like made it more over the top, but like dialed in certain other aspects of the band. But there's a couple tracks on there that are pretty strange. We built this industrial song on the record, and we have like a whole bunch of people playing on it, and I think it's pretty jarring when you hear it. But I mean, yeah, in a good way. But yeah, it's definitely like a different vibe than like maybe the rest of the record is.
Okay. Sounds like kind of all over the place. I know, God, I remember Spencer was talking about adding in some things like, I think about like more riffs and more, you guys have just been getting more into that death metal kind of stuff or something like that. You know, what made you guys kind of go this direction on this one?
I think we were kind of doing our thing like years ago where we really wanted to be kind of like, there's a band from Southern California called Gasp. Gasp was like power violence, like pretty, not like simple format, but like power violence, like punk-based power violence band that was like super psychedelic and totally tripped out and really creative, like beautiful, crazy, insane music. And that was definitely like a huge influence for us for a while and still is. But I think like the format of like the more punk stuff we realized might like limit us and like what we could do. Whereas maybe if you're looking through more of a death metal lens, I mean, there's just so much to challenge yourself with, you know, like from a technicality standpoint, and the riffs are more expressive. And I think Spencer wanted to challenge himself as a guitar player, so that was my corgi. Yeah, something to add. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe like, I guess I could. They might agree with me that the metal world seemed like more of a challenge, maybe.
Okay.
Not that I'm not talking down on like power violence as a style of music. We never really played pure power violence either anyway, for the record. But it's just the metal world, there's just so much there to dive into, and there's so much more to explore if you're presenting your band in that light, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can go like a million different directions.
Well, that's what I think so cool. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. I was just going to say, they've been playing together now for like so many years. I think they're impressing me. They're getting tighter and they're pushing themselves a bit more. And we have this bass player, Sam. He's like super into all kinds of cool metal, and he just really wants things to be pushed too. So I think the guys just want to see like how far they can go with it, you know?
For sure. Yeah. No, I was going to say, what I think is so cool about you guys too, and why I'm a fan, is just, you know, you guys started with one kind of a style, which was already pretty, you know, different. But you guys have evolved and progressed, and you guys add in these different elements, seems like with each album. But you do seem to kind of retain that bass, Full of Hell sound. So is that something you guys try and do when you progress? You want to hold on to a little bit of what you had, or are you guys just kind of moving forward and not thinking, or how do you guys approach that?
I mean, in my eyes, I would say I'm not really thinking about maintaining the core at all, but I want to, you know what I mean? It's just kind of like, maybe it's not articulated enough in my brain to be like, oh, we got to still stay ourselves. So in my head, I'm not thinking about that, but I'm pretty sure that's in Spencer's mind for sure. And I think, I really don't know what it is. And I'm happy that you said like, it still sounds like Full of Hell, because I have old friends that have kindly been following us since the beginning, and they told me the same thing before. I'm really glad that it maintains like some kind of like vibe to it that still stays us, you know. But I'm sure that's like, there's like probably like 10 little micro elements that make it that way, you know. Maybe like the way Dave hits, or just the Spencer's strumming patterns are just a little different, and like, you know, and of course the voice is relatively still the same, even if the tones change.
Right.
So I'm glad it still sounds like us somehow.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, what about with you vocally? Was there anything you were trying to do different or push yourself on this album compared to last?
So when we first started recording records, I really didn't have much of a handle on how to record vocals in the studio at all. I never really thought like there was any use in like, you know, figuring out a technique or anything. So it kind of took me a while to like figure out how to record. So this one, after all these times in the studio where I look back and I'm just like, man, I should have done this or that, I was just like, I just need to go totally Animal style and try to make it really over the top, like layering vocals and just like just I don't know, because there's fun stuff that I'd started doing live over the past couple years that I really enjoy doing, just like vocally, that I never did on the records, and I wanted to try it out. Like a lot of, I don't know, just I feel like it's a bit more unhinged, and I tried to change the range a lot. I was definitely going for more of like a Glenn Benton kind of vibe, or like None So Vile Cryptopsy. Like,
nice.
Those are some of my like Lord Worm, Glenn Benton, some of my favorite death metal vocalists.
Yeah, man, that's not a bad thing to try and aim for at all.
Yeah, they sound like rabid animals. So I kind of wanted to get that vibe.
That's awesome.
Could still be better.
Right? Yeah. No, that makes me actually even more pumped now. You guys had some. I saw on the press release too some guest vocalists on there.
Oh yeah. And that wasn't even like a master plan. Really, we weren't like thinking about it for a long time, but it ended up really awesome. We planned ahead to have Aaron Turner sing on the record. He founded Hydra Head, ISIS, he's done all these things that have like completely changed my life as a musician.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we became friends, and we started playing together, and I just thought it would be a trip to ask him, and he was totally down. And then we got Nicole Dollenganger singing. She's this pop singer from Ontario who has like the most beautiful voice ever. And me and Spencer definitely have an ear for that kind of music. We really enjoy it. And we found out that she was really into some of our peers' bands, including ours.
Wow.
And we just thought it would be a really weird idea to ask her to sing on the record. And maybe not even that weird, honestly, because the body always has like accompaniment from people outside of metal as far as vocals go, and I always liked the female dynamic on their records. Like they always have the Assembly of Light Choir singing on their records. This lady Chrissy Wolpert, she's one of my favorite singers. But her voice, it adds just so much like emotional depth to the records compared to just the screaming. So we hope that maybe there would be the same vibe there. And it was just a cool collab because Nicole's kind of popular, but to a totally different audience. So it's just kind of like, it's going to be weird for people that like her to hear it, and and vice versa. And we also had Nate Newton from Converge sing on the end of the record.
Nice.
And I didn't even have a part for him specifically when he started coming to hang out at the studio. I just knew I wanted him to sing. And it was so crazy because we were like, let's get him to sing on this. In the end of the record, there's this like slow build, and we kind of have this like back and forth thing. And his voice is so sick. He kind of sounds like Scott Kelly, or just like a little more snarl maybe or something. But he like totally killed it, and it was really cool. And then sorry, there's a whole bunch of them. But our friend Andrew Nolan, he was in a band that kind of like helped shaped us as a band. They were called the Endless Blockade. They were from Canada, and they were like a power violence band with like electronics, and they were like a huge deal for us. And Andy's got like Column of Heaven and another band now called Intensive Care. He's just been like a huge influence on us, kind of like a big brother. So we wanted him to sing on the record too, and he fucking killed it too.
Nice.
And then, sorry, I'm gonna keep going.
Yeah, go ahead.
Kurt Ballou plays on the record.
Does he?
Yeah, he had this crazy idea for this song that we built with Nicole on it, where he detunes this bass, like kind of like how Floor pulls the bottom string off their guitars, but it's just a detuned bass, and it's like super distorted, and he plays that across the whole song, and it sounds so insanely heavy. Like and we wouldn't have even thought to do that. That was all his idea. And then Lee from The Body contributed a beat for that song. So yeah, I think I got everybody.
Yeah.
Sorry if I forgot anyone.
That sounds awesome, man. You mentioned Kurt Ballou, which I wanted to ask about too. What made you guys go with him for this album?
Actually, he asked us a couple times over the last few years, which I thought was kind of mind-blowing to me.
I
didn't even know exactly. I didn't think he'd even know who we were. So obviously we know everything about God City, and we know Converge, like huge fans, like, but we'd always recorded other places just for no particular reason. But when Kurt asked, we just started thinking about how cool it would be maybe if we actually like gave it a shot, But we met him at a festival, and he was really fucking nice. And we started talking like through Facebook Messenger. So it just seemed like, why not try something fresh, and like maybe a fresh set of ears, because we had tossed around the idea of going to our other favorite studio. It's called Machines with Magnets, but we figured maybe like Kurt would be a cool eye for metal.
Okay, right.
So and it turned out to be that way. He was so helpful. We wanted, originally Spencer was like, I want him to produce the record, but I don't think he considered maybe how like heavy a role a producer would be. So, because we kind of come into the studio with everything mapped out,
okay,
like, really
right.
precisely. So what Kurt did instead was just like do the thing Kurt does best. He just kind of like in a very cool way, like if he thought there was some way things could be done a little differently or a little better, he would just like nudge, any one of us. It was awesome. I feel like he gave Dave the opportunity to play at his best, and he gave me a bunch of great ideas as far as like vocal dynamics go, and he helped Spencer, and he was just awesome, and we got to hear his stories. I think we're going to record with him again for sure, because it was fantastic.
That sounds awesome. I mean, he's got to be my favorite producer. Just, I mean, when you see an album with his name on it, it's like, it's probably going to be pretty damn good, So when I saw that he was doing your guys' album, I was, definitely pretty curious, even more curious about this one. And like you said, I was wondering about how he pushed you guys and everything. So sounds like he kind of added a little bit to it.
Yeah, I would say he added quite a lot. Like maybe not in like directly a hands-on way as far as like the playing goes. Like not in a huge way, but I think it was still like integral to the whole process.
Right. Cool, man. Well, one other thing I was kind of curious about was like the noise aspect of the band. That's the one part that I'm not as familiar with outside of, when it's done outside of extreme music and everything. So, you guys have done your series of noise releases, you integrate it into the music and everything. So where does that come from for you guys? Like what got you into it, and why do you guys keep that a thing for your band? I
think what got Spencer interested in noise in his band in the first place, because I hadn't considered it for Full of Hell when I first joined the band. He's the one that brought it to the table. And I think it was absolutely inspiration from bands like Man is the Bastard and the Endless Blockade and Neurosis. It adds so much to like the basic rock band like setup. It like breaks down, I feel like it breaks down all the walls, and you can add so much texture and so much atmosphere that it can completely change the game for a band, and especially a band on the extreme music spectrum. Like you want to create something that's jarring and heavy and nasty. There's like no better way than like, having access to analog and digital like noises and ambience. It's a game changer. So yeah, I mean, it's always stuck with us because it kind of like keeps the walls away. There's no real boundary to the kind of atmosphere we could create with our music if we have access to all of that stuff. And we're always learning more about it, like learning how to efficiently kind of lace it into the music and effectively use it live, because it's kind of haphazard when I'm running around singing and I have to run over and feed in like a channel of like whatever clicks or burps or harsh wall stuff that I want to. But I think we're getting better at it.
Right. No, it's cool. So live, it's more spontaneous then?
No, it's planned out.
Okay.
There's a level of spontaneity to it, of course, because some of the pedals and synths that we like to use, the whole foundation of these objects is like haphazard sounds. Like there's this company Trogatronic that is actually founded by a founding member of Man is the Bastard. And these synths are like totally crazy. They it's all just knobs and buttons and switches. There's no actual keys on these synths. But they generate a signal, and there's labels on all the buttons and stuff saying what it does, but a lot of the buttons don't act the way they're supposed to act. And they just they all sound like, the best way I can describe it would be like the way Eric would describe it, like an insect war kind of. Like it just sounds like crazy space insects. And it's totally unpredictable. After you work with them for a while, you definitely get a vibe of like where the empty space is and where certain tiny little like looped sound effects would come in. So you get a vibe for it, but you have to use them for a while. Because like I said, completely haphazard. So live, it's a little different every night, but there's definitely like at this moment we have to swell in a harsh wall. At this moment, there needs to be clicks that go with this kind of breakdown that we're playing. And at this moment, there just needs to be a full-on like blast all channels. And here's a sample and blah blah blah. So like we have these little set lists like every other band does, but the difference is that ours, mine at least, has like maybe a tiny little note or two to remind me when I need to bring things in.
Right. Oh, it's so interesting because that's really something I don't know much about, but I think that's amazing that you guys are able to kind of have that unique aspect of the band. But yeah, man, that's probably everything I was going to ask you though. Pretty pumped on this new album. Sounds like it's coming out May 5th. Trumpeting Ecstasy.
Yep.
Can't wait for that.
Yeah, me neither.
Good luck, man, with everything coming up. I think you guys have a tour coming up sometime soon, or for the album, right?
Yeah, hopefully we're touring Mexico before that, even in May. And then we're gonna go to Europe and the UK in June. So I'm pretty excited. Awesome. I mean, as usual, we just have a lot of tours planned.
Right.
Thankfully, this is the start of a break, so I think everybody is in full decompression mode right about now.
well, thanks for taking the time, even during your break, man, to do the interview. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for asking. I really appreciate it. It's good to talk to you.